This is Heart with Wild Ones. We're going to look at the big picture here for a few minutes. Who cares about native plants? What's the big deal? Why do I do all these videos and blog and so forth? Who cares about native plants? What's the big deal? So, the big deal is that globally, biological diversity has declined 60% in 40 years. This according to the Millennium Ecosystem Report, which was published by the World Wildlife Fund in 2005. It was an extensive study, the largest collection really of ecological scientists to ever collaborate on trying to come up with a figure for how much has biological diversity declined, which is also to say how much has the Earth's ability to support life declined, because the Earth's ability to support life is a function, a direct linear function of biological diversity. So they determined that it had declined 60% in the last 40 years. If the decline were half that amount, it would still be alarming. It is the most pressing issue that you have never heard of, unless you have heard of it, but it's the most pressing issue that most people have never heard of. It should be the number one issue in presidential debates, and it's not. It needs to be. Further evidence that there is a rapid decline in biological diversity and a rapid uptick in the number of species that are at risk of extinction. The 230 species of North American birds are at risk of extinction as of 2014, State of the Birds Report 2014. Fast forward just 2 years and 430 species, almost half of North American birds, are at risk of extinction according to the State of the Birds Report 2016. Further evidence that these ecological scientists are not just blowing smoke. There is an extinction crisis. The only reason birds are failing is because the ecosystems they depend on are ailing and failing. Further evidence, monarch butterflies have declined 95% in the last 20 years. Monarch butterflies are just one species, but they're the most easily counted species. They fly to Mexico every year. They congregate in one place. It's relatively easy for scientists to count the worldwide population, at least the North American population of monarch butterflies, but that's an indication that all butterflies and moths are in trouble. It's an indication that insect species generally are in trouble. So the decline of birds, the decline of butterflies is a strong indication that these ecologists with the World Wildlife Fund are not just blowing smoke. There is a real serious extinction crisis that we need to address. So we have an extinction crisis. What's the solution? Two parts of the solution. One is plant native plants, and the other is to remove invasive species. This slide here corresponds to the first part of the solution, which is to plant native plants. So what native plants do we plant? Not all native plants are equally helpful. Not all non-native plants are equally harmful. We need to stop looking at plants and thinking all plants are equal, because they're not. These are the most this is the list you see here, starting with oaks. This is just the top 20, but if you go to bit.ly/top 100 plants, then you can get the entire list. It's the only place you can get that list because I typed it up based on information that is readily available to anybody at the National Wildlife Federation website. So, but this pertains only to Jefferson County, Louisville, Jefferson County. Type in your zip code and you get this list. So here's what it means. Oaks, as a group, support 346 species of caterpillars. Plums and cherries, as a group, support 290 species of caterpillars. Willows, native willows, as a group, support 239 species of caterpillars. We're talking about caterpillars because caterpillars are easy to identify, easy to locate, easy to count, relatively easy to count. So that's why it's kind of an indication of what, like oaks, are going to be #1 on the list of plants that support all insects as, if you will, as larval host plants, as places where the larvae can grow, the places where the larvae can eat the leaves. That's what this is all about, because the larvae of North American insects cannot eat the leaves of Asian and European plants. That's why there's a problem. So prong 2 of what we do is remove invasive species. Invasive species are non-native species that we have imported into this country, and not all non-native species are equally harmful. These are the most harmful ones in Louisville, Jefferson County. The trees called the tree of heaven, Callery pear or Bradford pear, bush honeysuckle, privet, autumn olive. If you learn what these things look like, then you start to see them everywhere, because they are everywhere. Vines such as winter creeper, English ivy. I'm not as familiar with porcelain berry or bittersweet, but they are a problem. Garlic mustard, Japanese stilt grass, Johnson grass. These are the worst invasive species. So get involved in invasive species removal. Leave a comment here if you need to know, if you would like to know how to get involved with invasive species removal in our parks. That way you get out, get exercise, meet people, and you learn the skill that is required to identify the harmful plants so that you can remove them from your own yard. So to recap, who cares about native plants? We all should. It's very serious because of global decline of biodiversity, because of the decline of birds, because of the decline of butterflies, and therefore all insect species. Where have all the insects gone? Used to be people bought fly swatters because you needed them. Now you don't need fly swatters because there aren't any flies. The insects are vitally important. It used to be you go out driving in the country and you get bugs on your windshield. Now, not nearly as many bugs on the windshield anymore. Okay, so bugs are not just an annoyance; they're vital to life. We need to get used to that idea. So we have an extinction crisis. What's the solution? Plant natives, remove invasives. Thank you for listening.